We were brothers, Dale and I, but not by birth, and we didn't grow up next door to each other. We were brothers by circumstance, by shared experience. Well, to be honest, it was due to general agony. We met at a Tuesday evening meeting. This was my second and first meeting with this group. He performed second. My name is Dale, and I'm an alcoholic. Hello, Dale. Uneven enthusiasm. I've been sober for 10 weeks now. Respectful applause. My wife left me for another man a few months ago. Before that, though, she had been a raging bitch for about a year, and I started drinking more to cope with all that crap. And then everything went wrong when she left. I saw no reason not to drink. From drinking, I just went numb, until I lost my job and my boss did me a favor by telling me I was a bastard and I was giving my wife too much power. She was a bitch, of course, but I shouldn't have let her get me into that state. It took me a while, but I finally found a way to get out of the bottle. And since then, I've been living one day at a time. Thank you. He sat up and rubbed his chin, which was halfway between clean-shaven and bearded. His eyes were red but not cloudy, and there was a haunted look in them. Wary. It was as if he was watching where the next blow would come from, ready to dodge and run. Anything to avoid getting hit in the solar plexus with another baseball bat. He looked just like me. And for the same reason. I approached him when the meeting ended. He was talking to another guy, and they shook hands grimly just as I approached. I extended my hand. My name is Teddy. Your story is terribly familiar to me. Dale took my hand and squeezed it with some force. I answered him the same. We looked into each other's eyes, nodding slightly. No intimidation, just respect for those who taught us to shake hands. Sorry to hear this. We decided to drink real coffee instead of the weak crap they served at the meeting. When you don't drink, there's nothing to do in the evening except drink coffee. It saved us both from going home and staring at the walls, though, so that was great. Latte? Is it true? Sue me, Dale said. I like it. Denny's was almost empty, so we had plenty of privacy. My wife left me too. What nonsense did she tell you? I shrugged. Nothing special. Just a note. I still didn't want to talk to her after that. Said she found someone who made her feel valued. Whatever that means. This is a cowardly act. My Charlene at least said it to my face. Although she looked terribly happy. She had a mean streak at the end, at least as far as I was concerned. Why did she leave? Said she found someone who loves her enough to put her first. Like I haven't busted my ass for her all these years. How long were you married? 8 years. Probably 8. There is still a month or two before the official marriage. Children? No, thank God. And you? No. Grace and I talked about it last year, but then we decided against it. Okay, I guess. Fucking bitches. I picked up my coffee cup. I'll drink to that. Dale laughed. At least that's what I think. It was a sharp bark, short, maybe a little angry, maybe even more than a little. Damn, bitch. Perhaps he needs a wider vocabulary. We sipped in silence for a couple of moments. Does it get easier? Dale shrugged. Not really. She's the trash that tore my heart out and threw me away, and I still think about her. I hope she comes back. And then I hope that she will never cross the threshold of my house again. It's all annoying. Yes. I took another sip. The coffee was hot, endless, and bitter. So is the mood, I suppose. Have you completed the documents? He asked. Yes. Well, she did. I think she wanted to be free for her new man. Did she take your things? No, she didn't have much, and what she wanted most was quickly. And you? Divided everything in half. It took some time before we could be polite enough to do this. We sat in silence again. Baseball fan? He finally asked. Yes. Twins, unfortunately. Me too. There are tickets for Saturday. Interesting? Certainly. The Twins won for a change, and when he wasn't talking about his soon-to-be ex-wife, Dale was a fun guy. His remarks about his marriage could also be funny, I suppose, but for me they hit too close to home. It turned out that we were both ice fishing. We also liked country music, Maybe because we each lived for a sad country song. A few nights after the game, we were drinking Diet Pepsi at a tavern with a pretty decent hard-driving Roadhouse blues band. It wasn't ice fishing season, but the following weekend, he invited me to go fishing with a couple of his other buddies who had a boat. Diet Right Cola doesn't taste as good as beer when you're at the lake, but you don't get a hangover, so maybe it's a fair trade-off. Grace ruined my life, and whenever I was alone, I obsessively thought about her leaving my life. It didn't stop when I met Dale, but I was spending a lot less time alone, so I just didn't think about her as much as I used to. Dale seemed to have adopted me, and I really needed someone else who didn't care about my past life. He was, de facto, an older brother. He organized outings and had a wide circle of friends, acquaintances, and co-workers who liked to do things with him. He was an interesting guy, confident in his desires and purposeful in his actions. I don't think he ever doubted himself, but we all knew one thing. Dale's ex, Charlene, was done with him, and when he got a bite in his mouth on this topic, he really went crazy. If she wanted a bright asshole with a Mercedes, then why did she marry me? A fucking bitch. That's what she was in the end. She left me for some richer guy. Bitch digging for gold. Nothing was good enough for her. I learned early on to keep my mouth shut when he started talking about Charlene, like everyone else. Talking about her drove him crazy, so sometimes silence allowed him to shorten his tirade. But usually no. He created an impressive monologue through simple repetition. Do you think I ignored her? Left her alone at night? We stopped asking questions, so Dale took charge. No, damn it. I quit my bowling leagues when I got engaged to her. I have never stayed overnight to fish. No more than one game a month, and half the time I asked her to come too. At first she agreed, then she stopped. Never said why. Did I drink too much? Then no. One beer after work was my limit. Maybe a couple if the game was good. And I always got home in time to get some things done before dinner so we could watch TV after. And I took care of her in the bedroom too. She didn't complain. She didn't scream. But she seemed to enjoy lying on the bed with me. At first, we did this 4 or 5 times a week, then a little less often, and towards the end, once a week, maybe twice if my birthday didn't fall on a Saturday. He was completely devoted to Charlene, but for some reason she stopped loving him. One of the guys from his high school once asked him how long she had been cheating on him. Dale responded in his saddest voice. I have no idea. I never let her tell me. I stopped talking and listening to her as soon as she said she wanted a divorce. I never saw her again without her lawyers. I understood perfectly well how he felt, but after a while, I began to feel uneasy listening to him. I really liked this guy, and after living my version of his life, I felt guilty towards him. Plus, I owed him for accepting my sorry ass when no one else would. But Charlene wasn't going to come back, and at some point, you just have to say screw it and move on. Of course, this was easier said than done, but he was thin, had a little pot belly, had all his hair and teeth, and had a good job. Many women would have been happy to have him, but he insisted on picking at the scab, so his wound was always red. Maybe I did the same. I didn't think so because I hated thinking about Grace, but I couldn't stop thinking about Grace. And when I did, everything was black. It was probably the rejection that gutted me. She was perfect. There was no supermodel for me. Grace had meat on her bones. She was lively and laughed constantly, often at me. She was smart, and when she lost her temper, I learned to hang in there until she got over it. She never read anything, but she listened to podcasts all day long if she could, so she knew a ton of crap about everything. I used to love her. I thought about her at work and smiled. I couldn't wait to get home to her. And when she said that, she loved me, well, there is no better feeling in the world than reciprocal love. I couldn't understand how the woman who had chosen me over everyone else could turn around and choose someone else, especially after she said she loved me. I thought that made me better than everyone else, at least to her. How can it happen that you fall out of love? After 3 years, I couldn't change that much. I completely understood Dale's feelings for Charlene. I lived for Grace and she just threw me aside. If refusal after refusal confused me, then betrayal infuriated me. My father always said that you need to finish one thing before starting another. Good advice. Grace never understood him, or at least didn't listen to him. The fact that she could act so cruelly to someone she claimed to love basically said that she didn't really love me, and that was very painful. And I was very angry that she desecrated our home with her betrayal. This was our shared place, a sanctuary that represented our marriage, our shared refuge from a big, indifferent world, and she brought someone else there. The first time I saw her was at a barbecue that one of Dale's friends was throwing. Dale was the unquestioned leader of our group of guys, but he had one unbreakable rule. Only guys. No women, never. But not all dudes were as intolerant of women as Dale, so Cal invited us all to his place on Saturday. He had beer and enough potato salad to feed us all for the rest of the month. But we had to bring our own meat to grill, a plate, and anything else we wanted to drink. Dale, of course, didn't come, but almost everyone else did. Some, even with dates. Cal and his girlfriend, Sammy, invited about 3 dozen people, so there was quite a crowd. I recovered a little after meeting Daly, but Grace destroyed my self-confidence, along with the rest of the pain she caused, so I was content to just sit in my chair and stare at women. I wasn't open about it, but there was no way I was going to talk to them. I mean, if you're a regular guy, maybe 10 pounds overweight, decently coordinated, but never a starter on your high school sports team, and LeBron James shows up on the playground, well, you'd be an idiot to call him out, right? So I sat with my Diet Dr. Pepper and watched the women until one of them looked at me. Then I turned away. The problem is that I only have 2 eyes and they work together, so I didn't notice how it went in from the side. "Well, aren't you shy?" said a soft but confident voice to my right. She had a bit of a southern accent. I've never been shy, but that voice scared me so much that I dropped the can of drink and it splashed all over my feet and flip-flops. A soft voice began to laugh, but it was not an angry laugh, just a cheerful laugh. Then she put her tiny hand on my arm, squeezed it tightly and said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you." She was thin, and if she reached 5 feet tall, it was only thanks to the thick blonde hair on her head. Her eyes were huge, her breasts were small, and my own ass was much larger and rounder than hers. But her face was beautiful, and those sparkling white teeth in 2 perfect rows. Well, they blinded me, and I just felt warm. Her bare feet were as graceful as her hands, and while they were beautiful, they were also functional, with a hint of calluses on the soles. There was no polish on her nails, and her only jewelry was a pair of gold pins in each ear and one thin gold chain around her neck, with a small pendant. I stuttered a little, and then just gave up and shrugged. She laughed again. I liked it when she laughed. "Can I get you a new soda?" I shook my head. "No, don't worry about it." "So why are you silent?" "It's a party after all." I shrugged again. I have never been relaxed, and now I still have no practice. "Nothing to say, probably." "Everyone has something to say. What is your name?" "Teddy." "It wasn't that difficult, was it?" I swear, if I see this again, I will become addicted to her smile. "I'm Sonia." "Nice to meet you." "Me too. How do you know Cal and Sammy?" "I met Cal through friends." "Are you one of those misogynists Sammy talks about?" I winced slightly at this. I thought Grace was straight, but Sonia just said whatever was on her mind. Her accent softened her words, but, Lord, those words. I couldn't argue with that, though. The description fit Dale more than it didn't. I don't think that's true, but some of us haven't had the best experiences with women. Sorry to hear this. Love can be rough and unfair sometimes, right? Looks like it. Well, don't just sit there, Teddy. It looks like Cal has started a fire, so let's get to cooking. She pulled me along until I stood up, and then she took my hand and pulled me towards the grill. "What did you bring to cook?" she asked. "I hope you're not one of those tofu lovers." I chuckled mockingly. "Marinated drumsticks." "I knew there was something about you that I liked." I brought the ribeye. She looked at me askance. And I'm not going to share. I haven't laughed in months, but this almost made me laugh. We pulled the beef out of the refrigerator and told Cal how we wanted it cooked. Medium rare for me, medium rare for her, and then went to where the food was laid out to set out the plates. "Your mother must be proud of you," she said, smiling. "You took a little bit of everything, just like she taught you." I shrugged. I wasn't huge. I was more robust than anyone else. And Mom was really proud of me for learning to be polite. But to tell you the truth, I didn't really like to cook, so I took every opportunity to try food that I didn't cook myself. The event might not have been food heaven, but it was on its way to being one. Sonia's ribeye was ready first, but she waited until mine was done. We walked to where the tables were set, and we're spoiled for choice as Sonia and I were one of the first to receive our food. We found a table that wasn't too wobbly and sat down. Eventually, someone will join us, but for now, we were alone. "You really don't talk much, do you?" she asked, cutting into her fillet. "I'm not very interested." "And you're not very good at flirting either." "It's good that you're cute." "Cute?" "I'm 6 feet tall, with a broad frame, and would never be mistaken for Zac Efron." "Have you had your eyes checked lately?" "Yes, I like it when my men have something serious about them. My ex said the same thing when we met. Looks like she changed her mind somewhere along the way. I had a bite of potato salad in my mouth before it dawned on me how bitter it sounded. Hell, that might be the very definition of bitterness. But I was polite, so I didn't talk with my mouth full. To my surprise, Sonia just looked at me in bewilderment and was silent until I swallowed. "I'm very sorry that this happened. It was truly terrible. I wanted to say thank you." Well, that brought a bright smile. "Good rescue. It's always attractive when a man apologizes." I smiled at her too. "I have many reasons to apologize. Is it true? Or is it just something your ex said about you?" Wow, she really was straightforward. "You don't have a special filter, do you?" I say what I mean. It's not to everyone's taste. She looked down at her plate, then looked at me through her bangs with a sly smile. "And you?" I laughed, and it was very pleasant. "You know, I think so." I paused for a moment, and then decided what the hell. This is the first time I've laughed in a very long time. Sonia tilted her head and her eyes narrowed as she studied my face. "I don't think I like your ex one bit. So we have one more thing in common." She nodded and went back to eating. Me too. We sat and ate, mostly in silence. There was no awkwardness. Maybe she was just waiting for me to start a conversation, but if so, she didn't show it. But my thoughts were working. "Do you have an ex?" I finally asked her. "Some, but ex-boyfriends, not ex-husbands." "Did you finish on good terms?" "Not really. I don't hate them, but I'm not going to lift a finger for them anymore." I nodded. "I think I really hate my ex-wife." "Why?" "She cheated on me. She even brought him to our bed. This was supposed to be our place, and ours alone. That's pretty low." Yes, we fell silent again. It's strange how I could be with Sonia and feel calm. She didn't scare me like other women. I'm not sure why I spoke again. "I don't know why she did that. Not just because of our bedroom. I mean it all. Why did she decide that I was no longer enough? Why did she go looking for a new man? Why didn't she love me anymore? She's a stupid bitch, that's why." There was a lot of poison in Sonia's voice. But then he softened, and she reached out and squeezed my forearm. Her hands were small, but her grip was strong. "But she freed you to be with someone who appreciates you, so maybe there's a silver lining to that." I've tried to tell myself the same thing many times since Grace left me the note, but I never could. But when Sonia said this, my emotions changed and I was able to see it a little better. It was nice. "Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's stop talking about her. What do you do at work?" We chatted like all normal people do when they get to know each other. She teased me often, but it wasn't like when Grace teased me. Grace would say things that made me think she meant it, and on occasions when I felt offended, she would say that I was just thin-skinned and couldn't take a joke. Sonia was saying something, and maybe it was her accent or her knowing smile, but it seemed obvious that she really thought I was okay. She was witty, but not unkind. In fact, she was generous in her interactions with me. Sonia said exactly what she wanted, without embellishment, but also without meanness. While talking with her, I felt warmth and comfort. I believed what she said, and I liked it. Sonia was an office manager in a medical practice. There were 5 doctors, 3 nurses, a couple of assistant nurses, and a secretary, and she made sure they were all organized. I had no doubt that they did what she told them. She might be small, thin, with a soft southern accent, but I could tell that every inch of her spine was hardened steel. I suspected that even doctors obeyed her. When everyone left, Sonia asked for my phone number and then called me on my phone so that I would have her number too. She also took a photo of me to attach to my contact information. She showed it to me. My eyes were closed, and I was saying something while she was filming. "You should make another one." I sounded whiny, even to myself. Sonia laughed. "I'll make a new one the next time I see you." I don't know if she was smart or a masochist, but I took the bait anyway. "Have you ever been to Linde's? I know you love steak." "No." "Is it delicious there?" "The best." "What evening are you free this week?" "Depends on what else is on your mind. I work early in the morning, Monday to Friday. How about Saturday?" And just like that, I had a date, which made Dale very angry. We were at our weekly bowling night. We weren't in any league, but with a dozen guys, give or take, we could bowl as teams in any combination. We had all the fun without having to play the same guys every week. As usual, Dale organized us. Twins Orioles on Saturday night. Who agrees? Most of the guys raised their hands. Jan and Jadi had family affairs, and Pete's brother gave a concert in a wine bar. Dale gave the 3 guys a little rant about their previous commitments and then turned to me. "What's holding you back, Theodore?" He started calling me that because he thought Teddy sounded too juvenile. I didn't care whether it was true or not, but if it made him happy, then it didn't bother me. "I met someone at Cal's party. We are dating." Dale was silent for a moment, but the dark cloud that engulfed his face said it all. "Learned nothing from Grace, huh?" It annoyed the crap out of me, but Dale supported me 100% in many ways, so I got over it. I shrugged. I realized that Grace didn't love me as much as she said she did. I'm not sure how this will affect Sonia. I can't trust a woman. That's what it reflects. I hate to see you acting like this. I shrugged again. I think we'll see. It's just a first date. It all starts with the first date. I said nothing. He was like an older brother to me, and I knew he was just looking out for me, but he allowed his fears to invade my life. He didn't know Sonia. Never even met her, as far as I know. So although I respected him, I didn't pay attention to him. He didn't care either, but I knew it bothered him, and part of me felt like I was betraying him. After all, we were in the same boat, on a good ship. He just didn't want to disembark. I completely forgot about him when I picked Sonia up on Saturday. I was dressed appropriately, which meant black jeans, a white button-down shirt, and a black and white sports jacket. I even shaved. But Sonia was just a vision. I can't describe her hairstyle, but it was amazing. She pulled them back, but they still framed her face, but high up, so the first thing you noticed were her eyes. Those incredible, amazing, honest, warm, huge, brown eyes. I'm sure she had makeup on, but I couldn't tell. And that smile of hers made my thoughts wander into the distance until a slight giggle brought me back, stuttering and completely stunned. "Thank you," she said, her face beaming. "I've never had a better compliment." I said nothing. "You didn't need to." I didn't know how to answer her, so I didn't answer. I reached out my hand, and she took it. And even as her fingers intertwined gently with mine, I felt the strength of her grip. I had no doubt that she could kick my ass. Hell, maybe even really. I was twice as big and a quarter as hard, and she was pure steel. Lindy's was the same as it always was. Great. None of that charred sea bass on a bed of dandelions and summer corn. What kind of corn grows in winter? Lindy's will serve you steak cooked the way you want it, with potatoes, salad, and garlic bread. And this is the menu. The establishment looks like a nice tavern or restaurant club, with plenty of wood paneling and sturdy tables and chairs. No glass, chrome, or recessed lighting. What you see is exactly what you get. So it was with Sonia. She was not vindictive or grumpy, gossipy or touchy, but when I asked her a question, she always answered without trying to evade or brush it off. If you had a problem with what she was saying, that was it. It was you who had the problem, not her. If you don't want to know the answer, then don't ask. So, what do you love more than anything in the world? She asked me after we ordered. It's complicated. I like fishing. I like sports. Mostly, I think I like doing things with people. It doesn't really matter what it is. What did you do with your ex? In the end, not very much. When we were dating, she always liked to go to ball games, movies, or the fair, but then she stopped doing what I suggested, and she didn't suggest anything else other than watching TV. So that's pretty much all we did. It's a pity. This is her loss. What do you like to do? Basically, I'm a homebody. I love going out like we are now, but there is so much to do around the house. And I like puzzles when I'm alone, Netflix when I have guests, and games when there are more of us. Do you listen to podcasts? Only when I need to drive longer than 45 minutes. I don't like to stop when I start something. I'm reaching the end. And what? It was my ex's favorite thing to do. I'll never listen again. I laughed at this, and Sonia gave me a devilish smile. Sonia loved to laugh, and she really enjoyed teasing me. I think she saw it as a challenge to make me laugh since I didn't do it often, and she knew that teasing me was a good way to loosen me up. Plus, I think she was naturally mischievous. She was a serious person, but she was not heavy or gloomy. Be that as it may, we didn't spend a lot of time complaining about each other, and when you put all that nonsense aside, there's a lot of time for jokes and banter. We saw each other quite regularly. The following Wednesday, we went to the cinema, and on Friday evening, we had dinner again. On Sunday afternoon, we had a picnic and walked a bit in the forest reserve. We walked holding hands, and I kissed her for the first time right after I helped her cross the stream. She slipped, and I grabbed her tightly and pulled her towards me. She looked at me with her incredibly big eyes, and I just leaned over and kissed her. Her kisses set me on fire like never before. She pressed herself close to me, these steel ribbons, which she called arms, wrapped around my neck. These small but elastic arms grabbed my shoulders. For 20 minutes after that, my head was a mess, and there was a satisfied smile on her face until I let her go. The more she talked, the more attractive she became. This accent fascinated me, and whenever I was gloomy, her smile would simply destroy the mood. I saw her in my mind when we were apart, and to me, she was the most beautiful, sexiest woman I have ever known. Like many women, Sonia was embarrassed about her appearance. We ate ice cream sitting on a bench at the entrance to the cafe. Triple horn? I shook my head. This thing is about as big as you. I need to get better. My 10-year-old nephew has more curves than me. Doesn't matter. Nobody is as beautiful as you. Somehow, I hypnotized you. I know what I look like. No, you know how you think, what you look like. You're a woman who knows what she thinks, says what she thinks, has a killer sense of humor, and cares about some guy whose wife has grown tired of him after just 3 years. And she lives in this tiny package, in which there is not a single extra space, only what she needs. Her smile blinds me. Her eyes tell me everything she's thinking, and that tight little body makes me dream about her all day and all night. This is what you look like. Well, that got her a smile, an amazing kiss, and a threat of rape the next time we were alone. I wondered how quickly I could be alone with her. Sex with Sonia was different from anything I had done before. Her body was hard and elastic, but she made love softly, at a slower pace than Grace and most of my previous girlfriends. She took her time and gave clear verbal and nonverbal instructions about what she liked and how she wanted it. I was more than happy to follow her instructions because she made sure I had my time too. The pace of sex with Sonia gave us both enough space to explore our desires. I could relax and play with her, respond to her prompts, fully confident that we would get to what I wanted. And hugs with Sonia after that only improved our sex. Hugging each other, physically fulfilled and emotionally connected, falling asleep, wrapping our arms around ourselves, we simply consolidated everything that had come before. I didn't need a thunderbolt to tell me I loved this little baby, and it was very obvious that she loved me too. However, I did not completely trust her feelings. Grace said the same thing, basically, and it ended with a note taped to the refrigerator with a Niagara Falls magnet we got for our first anniversary. True to her nature, Sonia did not shy away when she noticed this. "Are you okay, Ted?" We sat at her kitchen table eating the last bite of chili she had made the night before the weekend. "I think yes." "And what?" "You seem to have something on your mind?" "Usually, you pay more attention to me." "Sorry, Sonia, maybe I'm a little tired. You wear me out at night." She didn't even smile. "You can joke if you want, but something is bothering you." I shrugged. I didn't know I was behaving any differently, but I really didn't want to delve into my psyche. I must have known there was something there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have avoided answering the way I did. "You know you can tell me everything." "I know. I won't be angry or upset." "I know. So why are you so concerned?" "I don't know. Nothing concrete." "Are you worried about something at work?" "No. Everything is fine there." "Did you have bad news when you talked to your family last time? Is your brother okay?" "No. They are fine." "Are you worried that I will leave you?" This made me wince, with a sudden sharp pain in my chest. In an instant, she was on my lap, her strong arms wrapped around my neck, and her mouth next to my ear. "I will never, ever hurt you like that bitch, Ted," she whispered urgently. "You are my man, if you didn't know." I wrapped my stronger arms around her thin body and nodded into her neck. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I just squeezed her a little tighter. I felt her smile on my cheek. "I felt you moving away from me. This tells me how you feel about me, and it makes me very happy." She pressed her forehead to mine and touched her nose. All I could see were her bottomless eyes. "But know that I will always tell you what I think and what I feel, and when I make a promise, I always keep it. You don't know it yet, but you will find out." "I believe you, Sonia." I waited a little and then added, "I love you, Sonia. I know you love me, my big, strong man. And I love you just as much." We were both very happy. Dale, not so much. As I started hanging out with Sonia more, I didn't see Dale and the guys as much. I still looked forward to bowling, bar music nights, and games, and they kept inviting me, so I went there when I didn't have anything else to do with Sonia. Sometimes it was dinner or a movie, but just as often, we stayed home to work on a puzzle or watch TV. And sex. We really loved sex. I also enjoyed hanging out with the guys. With the exception of Dale, they treated me the same as usual. Dale didn't hurt me, but sometimes he frowned and didn't say much to me. I tried to talk to him every time we met. I liked the guy and I owed him. But he was usually rude and then quickly moved on to someone else. I got a message. He saw us as two peas in a pod, bonded into brotherhood, thanks to the contemptuous treatment from our chosen ones. Maybe he resented the fact that I had found someone to love and who seemed to love me back. Or he was disappointed that the lesson of not trusting women didn't stick. Or maybe he just felt that I betrayed him by leaving him for Sonia. Perhaps Sonia influenced me, or I just missed Dale. Whatever the reason, one night while we were at Dusty's, I followed him into the bathroom. "Did I make you angry, Dale?" He didn't look surprised. "Why do you say that?" "You don't tell me anything else, but look at me as if I killed your dog." "I do not have a dog. I actually hate those whining bastards." "Then why is the shoulder so cold?" He shrugged. "I think you screwed up. I don't want to be there when you're down again. This will remind me of Charlene. Do you think that every woman will do bad things to you? This is my experience. I think Sonia is different. I hope you're right, but I won't bet on it. You have 40 to 50 years to live, Dale. Are you going to be alone all this time? At work, I'm around people all day, and there are only 1 or 2 evenings a month when I don't communicate with friends. This is hardly loneliness. You know what I mean? He shrugged again. I'm not bored. There is no woman worth such a risk. And here it is. I hated to see it, but I felt its truth. Love requires vulnerability, and he was so burned by Charlene that he would never, ever let anyone that close again. There will always be many friends in his life, but he will never let anyone inside his heart. I was sad for him, but I understood it, and I wanted the best for him, given his choice. Okay, I nodded to emphasize my agreement with his choice. But I have another hope. He looked me in the eye again, then smiled faintly. Fine. I entered Sonia's cottage using the key she gave me. I tried to be quiet, but it was dark, and I'm not the most graceful guy. Is that you, honey? She called from behind. Yes. Everything is fine? Now that I knew she was awake, I turned on the light in the hallway, which made the path to her bedroom much easier and much safer. I quickly stripped down to my boxers and then slid under her blanket. I pulled her towards me and pressed her to my chest. She didn't resist and put her leg on my thighs. Everything is fine, I said quietly. I took a deep breath, in and then out, and did it again, and then again, until I finally calmed down. I kissed the top of her head and felt Sonia's smile on my chest. Sonia? I don't think you know how much you've changed my life. I didn't recognize myself from the moment I first met you. I'm probably the happiest guy in the world. I did not do anything. I love you, Ted. I know you love me. And your love not only restored me, it saved me from so much sorrow and pain. You make me so happy. That's what love is, honey. Well, you found me at the perfect time. I never want to be left without you, Sonia. Never. Can we sleep now? I will get up early tomorrow. I smiled widely at my little woman who took charge. The remainder of our life together promised untold riches in the form of happiness, and I could not wait to begin. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.